What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Living Electric. We're going to start with our newest and favorite segment on the show, Living the Electric Life. So, we're going to talk about something we've done recently related to EVs, sustainable energy, all of that good stuff. So, most of the bulk of the show, I think, is going to be talking about Brandon's, how he's converted a lot of stuff in his home to be more or upgraded electric, I guess. So
yes, we're working through the nightmare that our house was
yeah.
for the last few months.
But before we get to that, I did take a trip to Indianapolis over the weekend. So that was my kind of electric travels, if you will. So one thing I noticed on that trip that I've continued to see as the trips has happened is I now have, I think, 4 charging stops on the way to Indianapolis, which I only had one when I first got my car in between Columbus and Indy. So I had to stop at this Dayton supercharger all the time. It was frequently very busy because it's right on the north side of Dayton. It's really the only charging stop kind of in that area. In Dayton, even. Like, I think Dayton just got their second supercharger, right? I think the Beaver Creek one went live.
I believe so. Yeah. I think Beaver Creek, you said?
Yeah. So I think that one is going to help a little bit in Dayton, but I've noticed stopping at some of these more rural superchargers that are just off random exits along the highway are way less crowded. So I can usually pull into those, stop, get out, charge, like do that relatively quickly. Whereas I try to avoid the ones that are closer to cities because they're just populated with people that live around there and want to get their charging done. So that's at least what I've noticed.
Yeah. No, I mean, we noticed that on our road trip, too. Like, a lot of the rural spots, you were the only ones there. And then if somebody showed up, it was almost like a pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
There's another Tesla in the area.
Exactly. But one thing, like, I've noticed now, too, is I really wish my parents had home charging. Because if they had home charging, then I don't think we'd have to stop at all on the drive. And now we have to spend, like, probably 15, 20 minutes on the way there and back at a charger. Whereas if we had charging at the house, I could just push it and get there with relatively low state of charge, but I can't do that. I've got to have enough to have some buffer when I arrive. And the wall outlet isn't getting it done to charge up enough. We still only leave with like 60% even after sitting there for the full weekend. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you, did you get a chance to, I know you level 1 charge at your parents' house, but did you get a chance to try any of the new superchargers along the route?
I didn't. I only stopped at we really like the Richmond, Indiana charger because it's right near the Meyer.
Oh, yeah.
But we did drive past that new Spiceland one, which I think is in between Richmond and Indy. But didn't stop there because we had enough to keep going. So it's kind of with charging stops, like I don't do as much. If it's a shorter trip like this where I only need one stop, I don't usually plug it into the nav. Like I know what supercharger I want to stop at, so I'll just plug that one in. And that one's kind of better placed halfway where we're at a relatively low state of charge when we get there and can charge faster. So that's kind of the philosophy we take with those.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I was actually thinking because, now that we live further away from my parents' house in Cleveland, have you talked with your parents about installing a level 2? I mean, I know it'd mostly just be used by you, but have you talked with them about that?
I haven't, no. I'm kind of hoping one of my parents gets an EV here in the next few years, just because they don't do as much, like... I know my mom does a lot of driving. My dad does a decent amount, but not like crazy. But yeah, I don't think their situation necessarily merits an EV quite yet. Cause like, my mom doesn't commute, but she's like driving all the time, like a lot of long highway travel just with our family stuff going on. And same with my dad, and they travel to go see my brother play football every weekend. So that's also another thing where some of these games are in random rural parts of Indiana that don't have any charging infrastructure. So an EV isn't necessarily the best option for them. So
got it. Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah. I know after just getting another level 2 installed at the house, it depending on the install, as we've talked about it, it could be pretty expensive.
Right.
So
yeah.
Yeah. because I even thought about just like asking my parents if they could put in like a like just like a dedicated NEMA 1450 outlet.
Yeah.
That way we could use like a mobile connector or something like that. But
Right.
even that could be a few $100s. And
Yeah.
but I'm still trying to convince my parents to get an electric car. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's interesting, like especially with parents that maybe don't have a normal like work schedule too. I don't know. I don't want to get too much into family stuff on the show of like what our families do. But I know like some people, as they kind of progress in their careers, they don't always necessarily have a normal commute, if you will, like just going into the office 5 days a week. Like that's not as common, I feel like, as you kind of go farther along in your career. So some people just want to stick with gas because they like that flexibility, don't necessarily want to have to worry about a new thing and trying to find chargers, which I get to a point. So yeah.
The car has to work for you.
Right.
You shouldn't have to work for the car.
Yeah, exactly. So
well, it sounds like you guys had a good trip.
yeah, it was good. My brother played it was I think number 3 against number 4 in his like football league that he's in. So it was a great game. They ended up losing, unfortunately, by 2 points like in the fourth quarter. It was it was rough game for that, but they played really well. So
good.
Yeah, playoffs will be starting here in a couple weeks, so we'll be following that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you guys might get more opportunities to try some of those new supercharger.
Right, yeah. If we're traveling, because sometimes they play like these playoff games in like Iowa, so might be, depending on how things go, we'll see if we find our way driving up there or something. So we'll see.
Oh, that's awesome.
But home charging is probably a good segue to your whole situation. So do you want to give us the background on what's going on? We've obviously covered your move already, but tell us kind of more of the details on the electrical side.
Yes. So if you guys follow me on social, I've been relatively quiet about our new home.
Quiet for Brandon? Is that what you're saying?
What'd you say?
Quiet for Brandon? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Relatively quiet?
Yes. Yeah. Meet me in person and I never shut up, but online I'll be pretty selective of what I say. But so as you guys know, Tyler and I moved to Columbus over the summer. We bought a new house, and we have ran into a plethora of electrical issues since we moved in. Alex, I know during the prep of today's episode, you mentioned you had some questions and some opinions and feedback about inspections and stuff like that from your experience. But essentially, I'll just drop the bomb now. We have spent close to $22,000 in the last few months just making sure that our house is safe to live in.
Jeez.
Because the inspector we hired missed essentially everything that could have been deemed a hazard.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did they bring up anything on the inspection to say like, get this looked at, this doesn't look right? Or was it like, oh, it looks fine? Like, was there any indication?
No. So the only thing that the inspector brought up was a junction box in our garage that just needed organized. But what we, kind of come to find out that if he would have just looked up, he would have seen crossed live wires going all over the ceiling in our garage.
Oh my gosh.
All he did was just look at that one junction box, and that's all.
That's so interesting. That's so interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I'll just start from the beginning. The reason how we found out that we had electrical issues is I went to plug in our Tesla on an outdoor outlet, and when I opened it, it looked old, and I was like, oh, I'll drop the amperage on the car, we'll see what happens, and plugged it in, and I went inside and I turned on one of our air purifiers, and I heard like electrical like buzzing, and I was like, oh no,
that's not good.
And then all of a sudden, like the air purifier just like went through the roof in terms of like its fan speed, and I'm like, this is not right. So I unplugged it, and we called an electrician to replace outlets, and I'm just going to give a huge shout out because they've been a lifesaver. Safe Electric here in Columbus.
Yeah.
Eric specifically, and all the apprentices that come with him have just been amazing. But they actually did a walkthrough of our house for free.
Oh, wow.
Before they even reinstalled, like new outlets or anything. And that's when he pulled us aside and showed us the checklist of everything
Their
that was
checklist?
wrong with our house. Yes.
Yeah.
So that included a brand new meter because our meter was literally burnt through. It was literally, I think Eric said it was like a week to a few months before it was a potential fire, like a real fire hazard. And he knew he had to get it replaced immediately. The company that did our kitchen wired all of our electrical appliances onto one circuit. So that's a microwave, a dishwasher, a refrigerator, garbage disposal, as well as an electric oven. All
Oh
in one
my
circuit.
gosh. One
Yes.
circuit?
One circuit, yes.
Oh
Yep.
my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so and on top of it, the same cabinet company. I just want to put emphasis: a cabinet company, who one didn't even really do a good job with the cabinets, but that's a whole nother thing. Did the main panel too, without going up to code, like in terms of like the install. So essentially, this review by Safe Electric showed that the panel was installed incorrectly, and it just nothing was up to code. We also found out that we had aluminum wiring in the house, which is no longer, being installed in houses due to it being a fire hazard. So it's like, cool. So yeah, that essentially kind of like set off this like ripple effect in August of the biggest project of, replacing the meter, getting things, getting our new 200 amp panel installed, just making sure things were safe.
Right.
And on top of it, upon them working on it, we actually ran into an issue from the utility line where squirrels actually chewed through the aluminum, and the main line from our house to the main utility line was about to snap at any moment too. So
My gosh.
yeah.
Oh.
So that was $18,000. Right off the bat. Literally like 4 weeks into us moving into our new house.
Great bill you want to get as soon as you move into a new house. My goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of my comments I wanted to bring up, and something we'll definitely do if we buy an older house for our next home is like get separate inspections for all of the kind of high level items in your house, because I feel like the general home inspectors, they're just kind of looking for very high level, like, are there any glaring issues with the home that like could potentially be a hazard or potentially not get your loan approved by the company. So that part I think scares me, because they are not like, you can't be a master of all trades, if you will. Like you probably have a working knowledge of most stuff, but in terms of being able to do the deep dive like the electrical company did, I think it's always worth it if it even just looks weird to you, like have an electrical inspector come out and do that kind of report and be like, because that's something you could have brought up during the buying process and be like, this electrical company is saying all these things are wrong and it's going to cost X amount to do it. Either give us a discount on this home or we're not buying it. That could really like make or break buying decisions. So like, and especially like for EV owners, I think it's even more important because generally you are installing home charging. I don't know of many homes that come with EV chargers already. I'm sure that number's growing, but I assume it's relatively low right now.
But our old house did.
That's fair. So that's something I think especially you want to look at is, hey, can I install EV charging at this home? Like that's something you've got to be looking for if you're looking at buying a new home as an EV owner. So
it was definitely a learning lesson with this house, like getting into it and figuring out the inspections and stuff like that. I do want to say I am fully aware of the insurance that every single inspector is supposed to cover, have coverage for, just in case if like something they missed on their inspection happens to be an issue for the buyer. I don't want to get into it on this podcast, that just it fell through in terms of our argument with our inspector, just because the sheer amount of things that he blatantly missed. But yeah, it's just be aware of that too. Every official inspector, licensed inspector should have inspector insurance.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know even with our house, like we kind of had the same thing when we moved in. It's like, oh, like some of the stuff they definitely missed on the inspection, or like we should have had a second opinion on. Like our chimney is a good example. Like there's a whole separate chimney inspector that could come out and look at your chimney and make sure it's all good, because we had like water leaking through it like earlier this year. So it's like and like for first time home buyers, like not to completely derail our conversation here, but on electrical stuff,
but it's good advice for people.
Yeah, it's like a lot of this stuff is very overwhelming for a first time home buyer. Like there's just so much to learn, so much to think about, like. And sometimes real estate agents aren't necessarily the best resource because they're trying to sell you a home. They're not trying to teach you how to buy a home. So I think just being, as we preach education on this podcast, it's true in all facets of your life. Like get as educated as you can on the home buying process, everything that goes into it, things you need to look out for. Lean on your circle of family and friends as well if they've gone through the process. I know a lot of people have similar experiences to us too, where they've bought a house and then figured out a bunch of stuff's wrong that they maybe weren't aware of. So just doing the due diligence there, and like don't be afraid to investigate things because people are wrong all the time. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I mean, to talk about the inspection, a lot of times like general inspectors just take things at eye value, like, or at face value, like they see things and they don't necessarily tear open outlets or, tear open drywall.
They can't, right?
Yeah,
they can only look at like it's a visual inspection. They can't be ripping stuff open and diving into things like that. So
yeah, just to play devil's advocate, but there was definitely some things where if they would have just looked up, like the wires in our garage, or with the panel, if they would have just looked up, they would have seen that it wasn't installed correctly.
Yeah.
And it's just those small things that if they would have just seen it, it would have saved us a lot of time and money,
right?
To be honest,
right? Yeah.
But I think the toughest thing too is that as we went into the projects, it went from it was a 7-day project, I believe. Like it started off as like a smaller project, like we can get all this stuff done. But the thing is as they started tearing into things, they started finding things that were wrong.
Right.
There were outlets that weren't installed on proper boxes. There was light switches that were literally like the wires were touching insulation, which is a fire hazard.
Right.
The microwave. I remember every time Tyler and I would hit the microwave, it would shut down the entire house because of it being on one circuit. So we found out that the microwave outlet was actually not installed properly. They mounted it right onto the cabinet instead of like actually having a box.
Oh my gosh.
One of the lights in the guest room didn't work, and we found out that it had broken wires in the walls, so they had to rewire all of that. It just was it was just it was. I mean, and this was just the first project. This was the biggest project, is just getting the house safe for us.
Yeah.
This wasn't this
nothing
wasn't like
EV
last
related.
week's. No, yeah, this had nothing to do with our charger. It was just getting it safe.
Right.
But and I can send photos because the meter itself literally was singed. I mean, I really don't know how the house never caught on fire before we bought it.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. And this isn't me, talking smack about people who flip homes, because people do, some people do a decent job with like renovating homes. Others don't. And, you really have to vet out your contractors and like really figure out who's going to do the best job. And sadly, Tyler and I ended up with a pretty poorly flipped home.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And again, I mean, to your like earlier point, the inspection is only visual. So if they do a good job of just making it look good, then that can kind of wash out some of the maybe underlying issues that are behind a cabinet or are behind the wall or are just like built into the home that are kind of hidden, if you will, because they've just been covered up over the years. So
Yep. And that's exactly what happened with our house. and like I mean, your house is even older than ours. I'm sure, you guys are going to, stumble upon things as
Oh
time
yeah,
goes on.
I'm just like trying not to think about it too much because I know there's a lot of stuff we want to do and change and upgrade. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna be quite the process. I think digging in more to all that stuff. So,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I did want to ask on the electrical stuff. So the main thing that tipped you off was plugging in your car, though. Like, did you notice anything else that like was weird?
I mean, the microwave, yeah.
Oh yeah,
And
I'm sure the kitchen
when
had to be one of the first because you're using the kitchen all the time. So.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was. I mean, like that just proved to me that whoever did this house just like really had no clue what they were doing
Yeah.
because they converted it from a gas stove to an electric stove, and
Which is great,
everything went. Yeah,
but
yeah, which is great. I mean, I'm happy, but it's just like just do it right. Like
Yeah.
don't put the people who buy the house in danger. But the actually to preface this big project, I remember when we were moving things into the house, I was putting fans up in our bedroom and I plugged one in and I started smelling like almost like something was burning. And I called one of the movers over. I'm like, hey, like, just smell this. Do you smell anything? And he's like, oh yeah, I do smell something. Well, it turns out that they had painted over all of the outlets and their paint had gotten into the outlet, but from the outside you really couldn't tell. So when I plugged it in, paint went into the wiring and it started like burning
like melted.
off.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Jeez.
Yeah. So yeah, yeah, but the whole plugging in the Tesla thing is what really made me realize that there's something way worse here than
Yeah.
we know of.
Right.
Yeah. So
Did you put
we got those. Okay.
over this whole 7-day process? Did you have to like? Because I think you were telling me you didn't charge your car at home like at all during that whole time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, we went. We actually really haven't charged our car at all in the last 5 months at home. We've been relying on public chargers just because we know the house is safe now.
Yeah.
Obviously, since we just got a level 2 charger installed, which I'll talk about in a second.
Right.
But yeah, we never really, we were so hesitant to plug in more than we could. If the AC was running, we wouldn't want, run the dryer, like everything. Even now, I'm still like slightly paranoid about what I run.
Yeah.
You just never know. But yeah, no, we never plugged in our cars at all.
That's funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I wouldn't feel comfortable doing either, to be honest.
No.
So I don't blame you.
Definitely not. So, but so we replaced those old outdoor outlets. We well, I can't really say we. I'm going to say Safe Electric. I supervise. They're going to listen to this episode. I told them about it today. But so they did a fantastic job about diagnosing what needed corrected and what how it needed to be repaired in order for us to essentially be safe to live in our home.
Right.
So, after they did all that and, the project got extended to multiple days, almost, totaling a week, everything was good in our house. Like everything has been working. We still didn't get a level 2 installed. And, we went about like 2 months before we really did any other updates. Well, we got the outlets updated in our family room, which is an addition they built in the 80s. Well, it turns out that they installed every single outlet, not really in a box. It was recessed. So Tyler pushed one in, and the outlet like actually caved into the wall.
Oh my gosh!
And some of the outlets were actually installed with deck screws, like 2-inch long deck screws, which is totally unnecessary.
Jeez.
So, it was funny. Every time Eric, the electrician, would come over, I'd be like, "It's Christmas
What's
time
next?"
again. See what you find."
Right.
Yeah.
Jeez. That's frustrating.
So yeah. So that outlet replacement was about $900. We did some lighting upgrades as well throughout the house. We got some fans put up and stuff. So we actually got a new dining room light put up. Well, they had a fan there before you saw that silver fan that we had. it wasn't attached to a fan box. Another thing that is not up to code.
Just drilled into the wall, like
into the stud
ceiling,
or the beam. Yeah,
oh
yeah.
My gosh.
It was on a proper mount, but it just wasn't installed on a fan box.
On a box.
So,
jeez.
Yeah. So that was fun. But fast forwarding to today, we finally have our level 2 home charger installed.
I saw that.
So
yeah.
So sorry if I'm rambling. I don't know if
no, go for it. I saw. Do you have any pictures of your home charger? Maybe you could share right now, or is it like on your phone or something? I don't know how easy to view pictures on your computer that are on your phone. Do iPhones do that? Like if you pull up like Apple Photos, will your like photos from your phone show up on there, or does it not sync like that? Isn't the Apple ecosystem supposed to be the best? This is what I've heard.
Wow, you woke up and chose violence today. Jeez. Here, let me. It did sync. It synced. So let me share my screen. Okay, it's still loading.
That's all good.
Is it gonna load?
We forget to do this on podcasts sometimes to actually like share photos. So.
And talk smack about our cell phones. There we go. Now it loaded.
Oh, nice. There we go.
Yeah. So we went with the brand new Tesla universal wall connector. A little bit on the pricier side, but we definitely felt like this was the best future-proof home charging solution at the moment.
Right.
Just because it offers both, the NACS red connector as well as the green J1772 mini Magic Dock.
Yeah.
Built in. So this is nice. Ever since we got the 200 amp panel installed, this was a pretty easy install. We a dedicated 60 amp breaker, so we can charge up to 48 amps or 11.5 kilowatts, which is really what we wanted.
Right.
And it's right outside our back door, right along our driveway. So it turned out beautiful. I mean, like they did a fantastic job on this install.
Yeah, it looks really good. Is this like the only thing I was going to point out, and I meant to text you this, is the fence right there. Can you still like reach over there and grab the cord? You don't have to like walk around and then like go plug in the car, do you?
Oh, yeah. No, we purposely positioned it closer to the fence, being mindful of the motion to pull the Magic Dock out. Because, you have to. I've already hit my elbow a little bit, but that's because it's brand new. I kind of like had to pull it out. But we did it a little shorter for people with shorter arms, aka Tyler.
Oh my gosh!
So even he can reach it. So
that's good. Good.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So I'm pretty happy with it. As we've read online, some people have been having issues with the universal wall connector not working with non-Teslas. So I guess we got pretty lucky that it's working for now. But yeah, I'm really happy we finally have home charging after like 5 months of not having it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's got to feel good. And on a panel and everything upgraded, that makes you feel safer too.
For sure. Yeah. Definitely. And knowing that it was done right,
Right.
That's one thing, when it comes to getting a home charger installed or really any electrical work, definitely do your reviews, get quotes. Do some research, but ever since we found Safe Electric, they know our house now, especially since they've effectively rebuilt the entire system. So
they better know it. Yeah.
So
that's
I'm
funny.
just props to Eric and all everybody on their team. They've just been amazing. So if you're in Columbus looking for an electrician, I highly recommend giving them a call.
Yeah, it's good to know.
Yeah.
Did you consider putting it on the side of your house there, or was this the best option there, like the driveway side, if you will?
Yeah. So there's an awning that will cover it from like rain and snow, even though it's weatherproof.
Oh, yeah.
But our driveway is so narrow that if we would have had it like actually on the side, we probably would hit it with one of the cars.
That's fair. Yeah, and if you're testing a larger vehicle or get a truck at some point, you don't want to block your driveway. So
definitely
that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and we
that's
talked
smart.
about getting it in the garage, but as you know from your install, we wouldn't have to dig up our yard, at least from my understanding. But I do know that there would have to be some type of upgrade underground that was going to make it a lot more expensive. Actually,
Right.
no. Let me take a step back. We actually were going to go from above our house and actually run up and then over to the
Oh, and then
garage and
jump
then down.
across. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but it was going to be like I think double the install cost. So
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
just better.
I think this makes sense too. This is probably the most flexible, if you will, too. Like if you have visitors, you can have them plug in, like your own cars. Like I've even realized with home charging too, like you don't, if you've got a relatively short commute, you don't have to be plugging in every day.
No.
Now, I know you did that in Cleveland too. It was like you just charged up and then would move it into the garage or just back the car up when you were done charging. So, I think that's another thing to consider with home charging. It doesn't necessarily need to be where you park your car. It's probably more convenient to do it that way, but doesn't necessarily need to be that route. So
Definitely. Yeah. And the cool thing with the Tesla wall connector is I'm still, looking through all the settings, but you can restrict it and you can provide access to people.
really,
So, if we ever turn our house into like a rental property one day or something, this could be a huge perk for somebody.
that's really cool.
Yeah. And plus, like, another reason we went with the wall connector is, we're considering solar panels in,
Yeah.
like in a few years, as well as potentially battery backup. And Tesla's Powerwall and solar panels are available in Ohio now.
Yeah.
So, no Tesla, but at least we got their products. So,
Right.
yeah.
Are you gonna do are you gonna do any like color matched faceplate or any kind of like fancy stuff to it? Are you looking at any of that yet?
So I actually found out that I looked at that faceplate that Tesla offers. You can't just snap off that glass panel.
Oh,
you
really?
you have to remove the charger. Like you have to like unscrew it from the wall.
Oh
and
my
then
gosh.
You have to So I think we're gonna leave it white for now, but I really want to do either red or black. Like
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
cool.
yeah. But you'll have to stop over soon and give it a try. It's
Yeah.
a beautiful charger.
They look. Tesla makes one of the better looking, I think, home chargers too, because they keep it pretty sleek and like modern. And how long is this cord?
It's 25. I think it's 24 or 25 feet.
Oh, geez, so it's super long. So yeah, you can reach all over the place with that thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can charge your neighbor's car.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Whenever they go electric.
That's funny.
That's why we restrict it.
That's right.
Yeah. Another reason I went with this too is the connector is really slim. And I was watching Tom Malogny's video on his YouTube channel, State of Charge, and he actually, it's really cool. He does this thing where he'll like deep freeze a charger. Have you seen any of his videos?
I've seen a little bit. Yeah. Oh, did you
Why
just
did
give balloons? It's because you did the peace sign, I think.
Is that how it works?
Yeah, if you give like do like a heart thing with your hands. Do that.
Oh,
That's like I think that's a Mac thing, like with the built-in webcam. I don't know how to turn. Somebody did that on a video call at work the other day. Like they flashed something with their hands and it like did an animation, and I'm like, oh, what was that?
that's hilarious.
Now you know.
Yeah, now I know. I've only seen the thumbs up one, but I've never seen the balloons or
That's
anything.
funny.
Yeah. I forgot what. Yeah. Have you seen Tom Malogny's videos with? Like,
I haven't. I need to watch more of those because as much as a nerd I am about charging, I don't watch a ton of like EV videos. So
Well, we're all busy, so I understand that.
yeah.
His videos are just really cool. Like he'll take like a heating element and actually like like put it really close to a charger while it's charging a vehicle to see like how it reacts to like extreme temperatures.
Yeah.
And one of his things is he'll deep freeze a charger to see like the if the cable is like manageable like under like cool temperatures.
Yeah.
And the wall connectors were some of the most bendable and like like flexible charging cables.
That's good to know. Yeah.
So yeah, so especially with the sitting like out there, it should hopefully we'll see in the winter time.
Yeah, and it literally got down to what, like under 10 degrees for a few weeks last winter in Ohio. So yeah, that's not looking forward to that.
No, me neither. Me neither. But hey, at least we have safe electrical stuff now for heating space heaters.
Right. Right.
Yeah. But
did you end up getting that space heater by chance that I recommended?
No, so not yet, not yet.
Okay.
We found a decent deal on one at Costco, but it's not the radiant heat. I still need to watch that video that you sent over to nerd out about space heaters. But yeah, no, we're still doing some research on it just to see. That was actually one thing I consulted with our electrician today just to make sure that our house could handle it.
Right.
In the room, this is another thing, and you being a homeowner, I'm sure you've done this. Just becoming familiar with what your house is actually capable of electrically, and understanding what rooms can handle what. Found out our family room with 8 outlets is on a 15 amp circuit, breaker.
A single circuit to 8 outlets is what you're saying. So
yes. Yeah. So obviously we have to be careful of that, but that's where that space heater will end up. So we just have to be mindful of that. But
can't plug in 3 space heaters in that room. You can
not
plug
with
in one.
aluminum wiring.
Yeah.
Definitely. So that's just gonna be my my soapbox moment. Just be mindful of what your house is actually capable of.
Yeah. One thing I need to do, kind of tangential to your home update stuff, I'll probably do maybe over the winter because we'll be kind of stuck inside. I want to just better label everything in our house, especially electrically. And I've seen a tip from some people is on the back of the outlet covers, write what circuit that outlet is connected to into your electrical box.
That's
so
smart.
Quickly you can just you don't have to, obviously you still want to check if you're doing any work or anything, but you can at least flip it around quickly and be like, oh, this is on the same circuit as that one right over there, and that one and that one and that one, all 8 in your family room. So you could quickly see hey, we can't overload these. We can't have 4 different things running at once, our TV on and a space heater running. We can't do all that in this room. So that's something I want to do. And then we've got wires just running everywhere in the basement. I'm pretty sure half of them are just need deleted and taken out. So that I want to label and test as well to see where is all this actually going? Because homes, unfortunately, and this is I think true in a lot of places, is things just kind of stack on top of each other. Some people don't always remove the old stuff. They'll just cover up what was there before, which is in my opinion, I like to rip out what's there first and then add the new stuff in instead of just covering everything up. So
yeah, that's what they did in our basement. They literally drywalled and sealed off plumbing systems and outlets, and it's I get it, it looks prettier, but when you have a rusted out outlet that's still active, you kind of want to know what's there.
yeah. So
it's tough, but
fun.
Yeah, we're in the same position with all the wires that are just not connected to anything that we just need to get out and clean up. Yeah.
Well, and our weird thing is too, and I may call Safe Electric actually to do this kind of electrical thing, but we have some outlets that were working fine during our inspection and now suddenly do not work. And I don't know what changed. So I don't know if something came loose or I flipped some random switch in the basement and it turned them off upstairs or what. Because we just have random light switches in the basement too. There's that piece as well, so that I don't know what they go to. So
it's so
very
random.
fun, very fun. Yeah, but
you know who I recommend.
Yeah. So
home ownership, but I was thinking about this a lot. I feel like our podcast is, we talked a lot about transportation, building up to this point in our discography or whatever we want to call our backlog of episodes. But I feel like we're slowly moving into the home aspect of living electric, which is fun.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
we learn a lot. So
that's why it's living electric and not living EV or something like that. Yeah. We're flexible here, right? So
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I'm excited for kind of the next generation of home electrification. I think that's going to be a big trend over the next 10 years, is everything is going to become more electrified in the home. We're not going to have as many gas appliances. We're not going to have as much gas generators. We're going to do a lot more battery, solar, home electrification. There's a lot of ways to optimize even your current electrical setup. I think I brought up before, if you've got a smaller panel, you obviously installed a 200 amp panel, but some people only have a 150 or 100 in an older home. And that may have been replaced and is a more modern panel, but then you're looking at EV charging, that's instantly going to take a third of your capacity by installing kind of a typical level 2 outlet. So running that at the same time as your washer, dryer, and other things in your home just isn't feasible. But you can, with a lot of these new products, you can schedule those things a lot better. It can work in tandem versus fighting with each other. So there's a lot of stuff like that I'm super excited for to kind of hit mainstream, if you will.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, I want to wrap up this episode since we started, with the Living Electric segment.
Right.
What is one thing that you guys are planning on for your house, like in the future?
Yeah. That would be for me or for the audience?
You can answer it. Anybody who's listening can answer it.
You ended that in a weird way. I wasn't sure if you were asking me or your tone at the end.
The reason I kind of trailed off is because you took it in a direction. I was talking to you.
Okay.
But yeah, anybody who's listening, let us know. But
yeah. No, for us, yeah. For us, I think step one is figuring out what the heck we have right now, where everything is going. We luckily had a brand new panel installed right before we moved in, which was great. So we've got a modern 200 amp panel, but I'm pretty sure we have some aluminum wiring running around. I think we definitely have solid copper wiring, which is not really a thing anymore either, just because it's very difficult to bend and move around, but it's definitely safer. But yeah, figuring that out. And then upgrade wise, I would like to eventually transition everything in the house to electric. We've still got a gas range, a gas cooktop. We've got that gas appliance, which I think is the main thing, and our HVAC actually. So our HVAC unit is all gas. So I'd like to convert that to electric. The downside is both of those things are brand new. So I don't want to rip them out if they're working fine. They aren't really causing problems. There's no point in really spending money on that right now, just as a financial decision. So yeah,
no, that makes sense. Yeah, electrify, as well as save money. That's the biggest thing. Yeah, and as well as not being wasteful too. Like you said, that all that stuff is brand new. You don't want to just waste it. So yeah. Well, you're cutting emissions in other aspects, so it's fine.
That's right, yeah. I will say we do use a lot of electric heaters in our house. So I mentioned the radiator heater. Highly recommend those if you want to get a space heater. Most people are familiar with the ones that have the big fan and blow through a metal thing that heats up. It's usually ceramic heaters. They actually make plug-in radiator heaters, which are way more effective, heat the air. They're not as loud. They're a little bit more expensive, but they heat rooms a little bit more effectively. So that was a good purchase last season because it got very cold in some of our rooms and we were able to move that around. So that's good.
Oh, good. Well, it's still on our shopping list, so we're still doing research.
Awesome. Yeah, I will say especially for those add-on rooms. I know a lot of older homes have those where it's just they just bumped out a wall and put a room on. And then it's got 3 exterior walls. So those rooms are always cold. So it's definitely been beneficial for our family room.
Oh, good.
So,
good.
Yeah.
Well, we'll include links in the notes.
Perfect.
It's getting late.
Yeah. All right, that means it's time to wrap up. So,
exactly.
Let us know what you're planning to do to your home.
Yes,
we'll pass it off to you now.
Yeah, exactly. And if you guys have any questions about electrical things around the house, just let us know. It's a learning lesson, and so thank you guys for coming to my TED Talk.
Awesome. We'll talk to y'all next week.